Hello everyone and welcome to Freedom Fighter 2127. This is the second radio broadcast we're doing, and I'm your host, Nate B., also known around the World Wide Web as Freedom Fighter 2127. Thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't done so, please check out the website freedomfighterreports.com. You can also find us on YouTube. If you're on the website, after you check out the article that brought you there, please make sure to check out the ever-growing store where you can purchase any and every prepper item that you might need in the event of a worldwide totalitarian takeover, also known as the end times. If you don't find what you're looking for, please check back later. We are still adding items. Every item must be researched and tested, and that is why we have not fully completed it yet. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2015, and this is your Freedom Report. Before we get into reports, here's your Bible verse for the day. Matthew 24, verse 13, King James Version. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. All right, we got a lot to cover today, so let's get into these reports. First one I want to cover, I can't believe this. I remember, what was it? Last year reading that they were going to do something like this in 2015, and according to Cern, the reason why this episode is titled Cern, the Cern machine, because, well, they're calling it the International Year of Light. We know through research and through, it's pretty basic research, but we know that Lucifer is the unholy light. And that's what they're creating, the earthly light. The 2015, that's not the right terminology, but anyways, let me read through this article real quick here. The International Year of Light. This year, which marks the centenary of the publication of Einstein's theory of general relativity, has been named the International Year of Light and Light-Based Technologies by the UN General Assembly. Cern is taking this opportunity to communicate about the high luminosity LHC project and Cern's involvement in the Sesame, I'm going to pronounce this wrong too, Synchrotron, I never get it right, laboratory in Jordan. Light is also the main theme of Cern's participation in the 2015 Researchers' Night. At Cern, light can mean luminosity, a measurement of the number of collisions in an experiment. The higher the luminosity, the greater the number of collisions. Cern's high luminosity, LHC, HL-LHC project aims to extend the discovery potential of Cern's flagship accelerator, the LHC, by increasing its luminosity by a factor of 10. Under the framework of the EU High Lumi LHC design study, the European Union and 15 institutions worldwide are supporting the international design phase of the HL-LHC machine. Another important link with the International Year of Light is CESSAMAG, also a European Commission-supported project through which Cern is overseeing the construction of the main ring for the Sesame, which is the thing I mentioned earlier, laboratory. Sesame is the Middle East's first major international research center and is under construction in Allen, Jordan, thanks to contributions from its 9 members and other institutions worldwide. Finally, this year's Researchers' Night at Cern will be celebrated on September 25th with the special participation of Gao Zhenjian, awarded the 2000 Nobel Prize for Literature, and its theme will be light in physics as well as in poetry. The first event of Cern's program for the International Year of Light will be a public talk held on Wednesday, the 4th of February at 8:30 at the Globe of Science and Innovation and available via webcast. The talk entitled Light and Luminosity. This just sounds so new age already, first off, just from reading it. The concept of light in physics from Einstein to the LHC will be given by the head of the HL-LHC project, Lucio Rossi, with the participation of Giorgio, I hate names, director of the LHC Accelerator Research Program, LARP, via video conference from Fermilab, USA. A version of this article first appeared on the Cern Bulletin. All right, what is Cern? A quick Google search will land you that it's a whole bunch of fancy words. Let's do one together here. Cern machine. We'll find out what the first appearance of it is. We'll look at a Wikipedia article here. The European Organization for Nuclear Research. Cern, derived from Conseil Européen pour la... I'm not even going to try French, is a European research organization that operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world, established in 1954. The organization is based in the northwest suburbs of Geneva on the Franco-Swiss border. What just happened in Switzerland? And has 21 European member states. Israel is the first and currently only non-European country granted full membership. The term Cern is also used to refer to the laboratory, which in 2013 counted 2,513 staff members and hosted some 12,313 fellows, associates, apprentices, as well as visiting scientists and engineers, representing 608 universities and research facilities and 113 nationalities. Cern's main function is to provide the particle accelerators and other infrastructure needed for high-energy physics research as a result. Numerous experiments have been constructed at Cern. Some of them almost took down entire countries. As far as the power grid goes, it just drained it. Following international collaborations. Cern is also the birthplace of the World Wide Web. The main site at Cern has a large computer center containing powerful data processing facilities, primarily for experimental data analysis. Because of the need to make these facilities available to researchers elsewhere, it has historically been a major wide area networking hub. Their logo has 666 in it. And they are not just doing stuff with the World Wide Web. They're opening portals. Their statue outside is of a dimension dancer, and it's an Indian, quote, goddess. So what are they doing? What have they done? The last time they turned on this machine, they opened a portal into another dimension. And there were reports that giants were walking through. What are giants? If you've never heard of what giants are, you need to read the Bible. In Genesis, maybe read some Enoch. The Nephilim, the fallen, sons and daughters of old times. I should just say sons of old, sons of renown, that's what they would call themselves. Them calling this the International Year of Light means that this year is going to be a wild ride. We're 22 days into this new year, and it's already been quite eventful. We've got issues going on all across the globe, yet Obama and his State of the Union seems to be in some dream world. You've got generals admitting that we have switched sides, according to the U.S., that we have switched sides in the terror war. That's something we all knew. Just the fact that the mainstream is also starting to say the same thing as, quote, conspiracy theorists, means that we have a rude awakening coming. Because the owners of Cern, the elite, I wouldn't call them necessarily the owners, it's probably just one person, one section of their little elite program, whatever you want to call it. It's such a scam. But that's not the point. The point is, do we know what light bearers are? Light bearers, according to the New Age, well, they go work on the grid workers. I mean, they're basically sons and daughters of Lucifer. Yes, they can be saved. And a lot of this is also where the rapture hoax came from, too. The New Age movement. William Cooper exposed a lot of this stuff. If you haven't checked out who William Cooper is, please do so. You need to. What we need to understand is that this year is going to be extremely eventful. I don't know with what. It's obviously going to be quite spiritually eventful because they're getting closer. The deceiving and deceptive light is getting closer and closer to the U.S. To the world. Let's move on. Doomsday approaching. Clock ticking closer to midnight. You guys know what clock I'm talking about? Citing unchecked climate change. Now, before I go any further, I wanted to mention this. This is why I put this article afterwards. Climate change. Last year, the French made a statement standing next to John Kerry saying that we have 500 days until climate chaos. A climate chaos day, which put the date at September 24th. Notice their big meeting is on September 25th. Cern will be celebrated on September 25th. We're talking about the International Year of Light, according to them, which we know as Christians, we're approaching the end times. We're approaching a worldwide catastrophe. Read the Bible. Read Revelation specifically. And we are also seeing plenty of signs on earth. We don't have to have a doomsday clock to tell us we're close to midnight. And the ongoing threat of nuclear weapons, scientists Thursday moved the hands of the doomsday clock 2 minutes closer to midnight. It is now 3 minutes to midnight, said Kenneth Benedict, the executive director and publisher of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, at a news conference in Washington, D.C. The probability of global catastrophe is very high. But yet, according to Obama's State of the Union, we're rebuilding America. Everything's great and dandy. The economy is booming. And as I'm reading this article from USA Today, breaking news, stocks at the close, Dow up 260 points as indexes leap 1.5% or more. And you just have to ask, how? You've got, let me pull up another article here too. Panic at Davos after Swiss move as bank runs accelerate and financial system is beginning to implode. What in the world just happened in Switzerland? It's another article. Yet, the Dow is up. It makes no sense because the Dow is literally electronic numbers that can be manipulated. And it is manipulated every day. The executive director and publisher of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists at a news conference in Washington, D.C. The probability of global catastrophe is very high. You know what? It could be midnight, and the rest of this world will not wake up. This is about the end of civilization as we know it. Really. So now it's not only about the conspiracy theorists saying that something's wrong, what's going on, why is the military preparing with billions of rounds of hollow point ammunition, why are we seeing all these MRAPs and helicopters and stuff flying over our houses and driving by that shouldn't be there, why is our police force militarized like they're invading Iraq on our streets? Why are they carrying M4s and carbines, and M16s and semi-automatic assault rifles, automatic assault rifles? Why? Because this is about the end of civilization as we know it. We cannot deny it any further. Do we know when the exact moment things are going to happen? No, we don't. We don't even know the hour, the day, none of that. But what we do know is that we are nearing in on the end of civilization as we know it. According to the doomsday clock. Well, actually, not. I wouldn't even go off the doomsday clock. According to prayer, according to the news, according to wars and rumors of wars, according to the Bible, we are close to it. 3 minutes is the closest to midnight. The clock has been since 1984, during the Cold War. Yet, according to Obama and the Obama administration, we are not in the Cold War. We haven't even declared war against ISIS. That's right, because we created ISIS. We own ISIS. The French know it too, by the way. So does Turkey. The closest it has ever been to midnight is 2 minutes, and that was in 1953 when the hydrogen bomb was first tested. It's got to make you ask. So these people who literally move the clock specifically for the end of civilization are saying that we are 3 minutes to midnight. Yet according to the administration and mainstream news, nothing really that bad is going on. I mean, yeah, there's some fear-mongering we should probably look out for because there's obviously going to be a false flag coming up here. But this means that we're close to a world war. And you're darn right, we are close to a world war. It's become to the point where they cannot avoid this topic anymore. And that's when we all need to really start paying attention, start getting our preps in order. Because once they start to push prepping, which as they've done in Europe, the war manuals are being released in places throughout Europe. If Russia and NATO go to war, the U.S. will be involved. And the U.S. will go to war with Russia. And China will back Russia. China has the largest army in the world. And they're continually growing. What are we doing in the U.S.? We're decreasing to pre-World War II levels. We're not taking our economy serious. That's been a joke since 2000 what? Since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. That's what I'm saying. It's been a joke since then. In 2015, unchecked climate change, global nuclear weapons modernizations, and the outsized nuclear weapons arsenal pose extraordinary and undeniable threats to the continued existence of humanity. So apparently, we went from global warming, which was proved a hoax. Now we're in climate change. What the hell is climate change? How about the chemtrails that go up in the sky and fly overhead through the jets? That did not even come out smart at all. What are they dropping? What kind of chemicals are they dropping? I mean, I know the answer to this. I'm just asking you. What kind of chemicals are they dropping? They can control weather through heart machines. Cern can also open portals, which, don't you think that's going to change a little bit of the weather? There's some crazy stuff going on. Absolutely crazy. And we're being lied to, day in and day out. And when we look to turn to somebody for help, an understanding of what is going on in our world, typically nobody's there. Because most of the time, the people call us crazy for thinking that there is something wrong with our lovely little world. Typically, what happens is, the people that are calling us crazy will be the ones that run to FEMA. Well, I don't know if you heard recently, but the movie Gray State, the director, his wife, and his 5-year-old daughter were found dead. All three shot. Murder-suicide, supposedly. The same happened to the 9/11 author. Both of his kids, I think he has 2 kids, both of his kids were found shot. Dead. He was dead. And they were both left in the house for weeks at a time. It's gotta make you wonder, where were their friends? Or did their friends abandon them? Where was their family? Because, see, when you head down this rabbit hole of finding that there is something wrong in the world, typically you're left alone. And that is not what we need to be right now, especially. We need to unite. Because when they have us singled out, and we're alone, and we're wondering where our friends have gone, I mean, that thought typically does cross your mind every once in a while. It crosses my mind all the time. But when that thought crosses your head, you got to realize, why did my friend just call me crazy for reading factual proof? It goes back to spiritual. Because spiritually, the entire world is not what it seems. And to a person who just awoke, it's like cracking a dream. And when you crack that dream, when you realize that you've been living in a dream world most of your life, and there's so much, when you realize that you mean something, and you've thought you meant nothing besides your daily life of going to work and coming home and going to work and coming home and go. I mean, it's just a repetitive cycle. We become slaves when we do that, when we don't realize that our country was founded the way it was for this certain reason. That way we don't have to become slaves again. But see, throughout history, we have forgotten and forgotten and have forgotten, and history is just repeated and repeated and repeated. And this doomsday clock should be a wake-up call to everybody on Earth that something is terribly wrong. World leaders have failed to act with the speed or on the scale required to protect citizens from potential catastrophe. And I think this is referring to climate change. These failures of political leadership endanger every person on Earth. What they say climate change is that our Earth is changing. It's regrowing, or I don't know what they say exactly, but it's regrowing or it's rebuilding. No, our Earth is trying to correct itself from the dangers and stuff we have done to it. Our Earth is not going through a climate change. Because if you look further, you're going to see that there is something going on in space. And everywhere you look for an answer, NASA or a space organization is covering it up. It's so clear. All of a sudden, all these news articles are coming out about how there's 2 planets beyond Pluto. I don't think they're beyond Pluto anymore because one of them runs on a 3,600 year cycle, and it's heading right back around, and we're close to the point of where it's gonna pass Earth. And some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's Nibiru. Planet X, you name it. That's your climate change. Our sun is not changing. Our sun is actually pushing more flares. I mean, from the last time I looked, which was a couple weeks ago, is pushing more flares and acting very strange. And the articles are kind of proving, oh, hey, Nibiru's coming this way. Oh, there's a planet that just heads out there in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't move. It just kind of stays still. And every time Pluto crosses it, I think this is what they say, but it jumps up and down. It moves. It moves. Well, something's obviously causing that planet to move on its normal orbital path. Clearly. And when people have found it, and then they're gone, that person is gone, or the research that was done to find this mysterious planet is gone, typically it's going to lead to the one conclusion that there is something out there that they do not want us to know. And you've got to ask why. Because now we're being told about climate change. First it was global warming, now it's climate change. They've even got a date set. So does Cern. Let's go to the economy. What in the world just happened in Switzerland? Central banks lie. That is what they do. Not too long ago, the Swiss National Bank promised that it would defend the euro/Swiss franc currency peg with the utmost determination. But on Thursday, the central bank shocked the financial world by abruptly abandoning it. More than 3 years ago, the Swiss National Bank announced that it would not allow the Swiss franc to fall below 1.20 to the euro. And it has spent a mountain of money defending that peg. But now that it looks like the EU is going to launch a very robust quantitative easing program, which just took place here, the Swiss National Bank has thrown in the towel. It was simply going to cost way too much to continue to defend the currency floor, so now there is a panic all over Europe. Yet our economy is okay. Go ahead and get in more debt, people. Please go get more debt, according to the President of the United States of America. Go get in more debt. Tell your kids to go to school that nobody can afford. Get in more debt. Spend more. Save less. Oh, and we're going to cause on the middle class a tax. Oh, I could not believe he said this. We're going to call it, I really want to pull up an article before I really say it, so I'll probably go to break and pull that article up because I really want to mention it. On Thursday, the Swiss franc rose a staggering 30% against the euro, and the Swiss stock market plunged by 10%. And all over the world, investors, hedge funds, and central banks either lost or made gigantic piles of money as currency rates shifted at an unprecedented rate. It is going to take months to really measure the damage that has been done. Meanwhile, the euro is in greater danger than ever. The euro has been declining for months. And now, the number one buyer of euros, the Swiss National Bank, has been removed from the equation. As things in Europe continue to get even worse, expect the euro to go to all-time record lows. In addition, it is important to remember that the Asian financial crisis of the late 1990s began when Thailand abandoned its currency peg. With this move by Switzerland set off a European financial crisis. Of course, this is hardly the first time that we have seen central banks lie. In the United States, the Federal Reserve does it all the time. The funny thing is that most people still seem to trust what central banks have to say in the stock market. But at some point, they're going to start to lose all credibility. Financial markets like predictability and gigantic amounts of money have been invested based on the repeated promises of the Swiss National Bank to use unlimited amounts of money to defend the currency floor. Needless to say, there are a lot of people in the financial world that feel totally betrayed by the Swiss National Bank today. The following comes from an analysis of the situation by Bruce Crasting. Thomas Jordan, the head of the SNB, has repeated said that the franc peg would last forever, and that he would be willing to intervene in unlimited amounts in support of the peg. Jordan has folded on his promise like a cheap suit in the rain. When push came to shove, Jordan failed to deliver. The Swiss economy will rapidly fall into a recession as a result of the SNB move. The Swiss stock market has been blasted. The currency is now nearly 20% higher than it was a day before. Someone will have to fall on the sword. The arrows are pointing at Jordan. The dust has not settled on this development as of this morning. I will stick my neck out and say that the failure to hold the minimum rate will result in a one-time loss for the SNB of close to $100 billion. That's a huge amount of money. It comes to 20% of the Swiss GDP. All right, I want to find that article real quick, so I'm going to take a quick break and be right back. Just stay tuned, all right? All right, we're back. Found a good article on it. This is perfect. Obama declares war on the middle class. In his upcoming State of the Union, this is, I guess, posted before it, Barack Obama will propose approximately $320 billion in new taxes. He's packaging this as a Robin Hood effort by ensuring those at the top pay their fair share in taxes. The president's plan responsibly pays for investments we need to help the middle-class families. The administration says in a summary, it faces long odds in the Republican-controlled Congress, where lawmakers have bitterly complained about a sting of recent tax increases on the wealthy. Let me just skip to it real quick. I really want to read this whole thing. I've got like 15 articles up that I wanted to get through in this, but I don't know if I have time. First and foremost, not a single penny of any tax increase on the wealthy will see its way into the pockets of the middle class simply because Obama is not advocating tax relief. Rather, he's proposing to use the increase to create a new barrage of increased in federal spending that ensures in a few years that the middle class will be called upon by a future Democrat administration to pay more for all the wonder spending the federal government is doing. The administration is able to tout these tax increases as helping the middle class because they define as rich anyone who is not destitute. These are the taxes. The fact is that much of the tax increase on the wealthy comes from the middle class, from Americans for Tax Reform. Number one, capital gains rate hikes. Raises capital gains and dividends tax rate from 23.8% to 20% plus 3.8% Obamacare surtax to 28%, including the Obamacare surtax. If you have investments, you are screwed. Stealth increase in the death tax rate from 40% to nearly 60%. Under current law, when you inherit an asset, your basis in the asset is the higher of the fair market value at the time of death or the descendant's original basis. Almost always, the fair market value is higher. Under the Obama proposal, when you inherit an asset, your basis will simply be the descendant's original basis. If you inherit a business, a house that was owned for more than 10 years, or any farm anywhere, you will have to sell it to pay taxes. Tax increase on families saving for college. This is the specific one I was referring to. I couldn't believe it. I just can't believe this. Under current law, 529 plans work like Roth IRAs. You put money in, and the money grows tax-free for college. Distributions are tax-free, provided they are to pay for college. Under the Obama plan, earnings growth in a 529 plan would no longer be tax-free. Instead, earnings would face taxation upon withdrawal, even if the withdrawal is to pay for college. This was the law prior to 2001. This is best seen as a way to push free community college. He destroys a very popular savings plan that gives parents significant autonomy in favor of the entitlement that benefits very few students who have the aptitude for college. There's tax increases in retirement plans and a new employer mandate. There would be a new cap in the amount one could accumulate in the aggregate in the IRA and 401k type accounts of $3.4 million. After that, you can save any more new dollars. You can't save any more new dollars, excuse me. The idea is that this is enough to secure a $210,000 annual distribution in retirement, which the government apparently deems enough for a retiree. In addition, all employers with more than 10 workers and who do not have a 401k type plan would be mandated to set up payroll deduction traditional IRAs for their employees. Also, part-time workers would have to be covered under retirement plans if they have been working someplace long enough. These two things are a new kind of employer mandate for Obama. Like the Cadillac health plans, this is a Trojan horse designed to destroy private retirement plans. $3.84 million is not a lot of money to save over a lifetime. And with inflation, it will shrink steadily and bring more plans under government control. Hopefully the GOP Congress will resist this nonsense, but with all the mewling about bipartisanship, and the willingness of the Senate to be as... man, I've had about enough of government. I don't know about you. Kids want to go to school. Kids want to learn. Kids want to start their lives, and a lot of them want to go to college. And he just screwed it for a lot of people. Most experts are calling this an extremely bad move by the Swiss National Bank. We're jumping back to that other article I was going to finish up. How do you know you're looking at a bad marriage? ? Well, if one or both of the spouses can't wait to get out as soon as the smallest crack in the door opens, you have a pretty good clue. Something like that just happened in Europe as we learned the real reason why so many traders were still invested in the euro. They had nowhere else to go. As the Swiss National Bank unlocked the doors on its cap on trading euros for Swiss francs, the rush to exit the euro was faster than one of those French bullet trains. But this move has not been bad for everyone. In fact, for many of those that live in Switzerland but work in neighboring countries, what happened on Thursday was very bad. I heard the news this morning. I'm so happy, Vanessa, who refused to give her last name, told AFP outside of one of many mobbed exchange offices in Geneva. She has reason to be ecstatic. Wow. She is one of some 280,000 people working in Switzerland but living and paying bills in Eurozone countries, France, Germany, or Italy. These so-called frontaliers, or border crossers are the biggest winners in Thursday's Swiss franc surge, seeing their incomes jump 30% in the blink of an eye. In normal times, things like this very rarely happen. But in times of crisis, things can change very rapidly. We are moving into a time of great volatility in global financial markets. And great volatility is often a sign that a great crash is coming. And many of you will know about the Shemitah this year. All right. What just happened in Yemen? Let me read you the latest tweet on it too. Breaking news, Yemen president resigns, AFP. Their entire administration pretty much just resigned en masse. U.S. ships on standby while forces clash in Yemen. Washington, Wednesday, January 21st, 2015. While the uprising in Yemen continues with militia forces fighting to take control of the government there, the U.S. Navy warships stand ready to respond if needed. This is pretty much, we're going back into the Middle East, into a different country. We're screwing more stuff up, and so on and so forth. Pentagon spokesman Army Colonel Steve Warren told reporters today, "We are continuing to closely monitor the situation in Yemen," Warren said. 2 American warships are en routine deployment in the Red Sea in the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility, he said. The USS Iwo Jima and USS Fort McHenry are on station, and between those 2 warships, there's enough combat power to respond to whatever contingency may come up, Warren said. The number of Americans in Yemen is not being revealed, he added, but if a need for evacuation arises, the State Department would handle the effort. Yemen's president held captive. U.S. sends Navy warships to Red Sea. Yemen President Abed Rabbo Mansour Hadi is being held captive by rebels who have attacked his compound just as the U.S. military has moved the USS Iwo Jima and the USS Fort McHenry into the Red Sea in position to take abroad evacuees from the U.S. Embassy in Yemen if tensions and violence continue to escalate. And it's just continuing. It's just getting out of hand. All right. Earlier in the previous broadcast, I mentioned about the Pope. We only got like 5 minutes left. The Pope was mentioning... Gosh, I can't believe I didn't get through any of these articles. I have so many. I'll have to make a few more videos later on today, so stay tuned. But the Pope mentioned that Catholics need to stop breeding like rabbits. I'm not Catholic, so I don't really care. Because he doesn't tell me what to do. But in that little speech he gave, he kind of pushed depopulation agenda. Stop having babies. And in the State of the Union, Obama mentioned that teen pregnancies are at their lowest. Does that have anything to do with people becoming infertile? I wonder. Elites, eugenics, and depopulation agenda accelerating at a terrifying pace. Before delving into the recent news articles showing that the elites, eugenics, and depopulation agendas are moving forward at a terrifying pace, let's first look at the descriptions of both agendas which the globalists are pushing at the world from all angles. Eugenics is a social philosophy advocating the improvement of human genetic traits through the promotion of higher reproduction of people with desired traits, positive eugenics, and reduced reproduction of people with less desired or undesired traits, negative eugenics. Depopulation agenda is an imminent plan to reduce population using an overpopulation crisis. And you guys know my opinion on this, and especially my information from the FBI taking an environmentalist whose belief was that airborne Ebola would kill 90% of the population, and then they hired him as an overpopulation crisis as the pretext or a secret eugenics plan cover-up. The elite thus need to kill off the, quote, useless eaters. That's right, we're empty containers to them. Oh yeah, sure, they care about us a lot, don't they? They don't care if we die. They don't care if we suffer. People really have got to wake up. Because this 500 million limit on humanity that they would like to keep is a load of crap. Did you know that if every family lived in one country with 1 acre per family, the entire world would be free of people? And by country, I mean like somewhere like Australia. Obviously, people wouldn't be very happy, but hey, there's plenty of room. All right, let me finish this article, then we got to close out. There are multiple long lists of elitists that have publicly spoken of their desire to depopulate the world, and recent discoveries have shown that using government sources, there is a projection of a population drop in the U.S. alone of 78.2% by the year 2025. That's just 10 years. That's your kids. Then, of course, we have the Georgia Guidestones, which promotes a set of guidelines in 8 different languages that further promote a one-world government and depopulation. Just to name the 2 of those guidelines that are relevant to this article, you can go click the source, but obviously you're not reading the article or seeing what I'm talking about. Eugenics is a social movement claiming to improve the genetic features of human populations. What does this sound like? This sounds like the, quote, light bearers. Oh, we must... Oh, Mother Earth. Mother Earth. No. It's a lot of crap. Of course, Hitler took eugenics farther than 400,000 people were sterilized against their will, while 275,000 people were killed under Action T4. Also, food for thought is that over 1,500 scientists, technicians, and engineers from Nazi Germany and other foreign countries were brought to the United States for employment in the aftermath of World War II. Oh. I wonder what projects we're talking about with this one. Operation Paperclip, which were given new identities, raised families, and taught them the same moral values they held under Operation Paperclip. All right, I got about 10 seconds left. Obviously, there's a lot more to that article, so I'm going to leave it on that note. Probably go make a video, and then we'll get back to it, okay? God bless you all. Be safe. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please check out the website, freedomfighterreports.com, and please donate.